Hello and welcome. My name is Aurora. This is the Birth of a New Dimension, and today I'm going to be speaking about the stellar network. It's a network of consciousness and the practice of ingesting sunlight or sun gazing. So I've been speaking each week, building up a foundation of understanding the idea of, instead of extraterrestrials who travel in what I jokingly refer to as a clank metal spaceship, the idea of consciousness travel and the way true experts would perform star travel. And what I'm doing is preparing the ground for the planting of new seeds. This is preparing your consciousness as an individual and your collective consciousness as a species on the surface of Earth for what we are going to be experiencing. We are not going to be experiencing the appearance of many physical objects in the sky with physical beings that say, "Hi, we're a bunch of extraterrestrials and we use technology to fly over the vast interstellar distances." That is not what we will be experiencing. What we are already in the process of experiencing is a coming together of consciousnesses. And these are consciousnesses that have been artificially separated and moving at very different rates, vastly different rates is what I wanted to say. So we are really reconnecting with aspects of our own consciousness that we were separated from a long time ago and that have been moving in a different direction and are moving at a different rate. So literally, you and I right now are made of matter. We are made of light that has the privilege of going slower than the speed of light. And what we are going to begin interacting with is beings that are moving at the speed of light and beyond. So I think I might have said this before. If I haven't, please, let's start from the beginning. I've said that Einstein gave some really great improvements to the human understanding of the time, because up until that point, Newton had been the most recent improvement. And up until that point, people did not really have a very good descriptive set of terms for understanding both the physical world around us and the non-physical and invisible world around us. And that would qualify as like the world of magnetic fields. So Newton did humanity a great service by saying, let's use our five senses and look at the physical world and develop a set of rules that we can use as tools to manipulate the world and also predict behavior, all right? Einstein came along hundreds of years later and he said, let's improve upon Newton's understanding of the physical realm because we now understand that time influences the physical realm and that light influences the physical realm, and light can be considered a semi-corporeal or semi-material substance. So Einstein did a great deal of help to humanity in bringing us to the next level, which is to say, understanding the subatomic realm and the realm of time or pure possibilities and probabilities, and also a different graphic depiction of how the cosmos is laid out. But one of the things that Einstein did was create bars on your cage by programming in some limitations, and one of those limitations is the concept that nothing can go faster than the speed of light. And it's actually a little bit of a misinterpretation of Einstein's original work, where he said that mass cannot be accelerated to the speed of light or beyond. But if you really talk with a physicist who really knows their stuff, you can get them to find a common ground by saying that if a thing is already moving at the speed of light or faster, that there is no conflict with what Einstein understood and what he taught other people. So this is what we can understand. Matter and your physical body is light that is slower than the speed of light. And there are many consciousnesses that are in existence that are light that is moving at the speed of light and faster. And when I speak about this language that we are going to use to interact with these other consciousnesses, we have to find a common language. It is not a language of light and or sound or anything that we can describe as relating to our five physical senses. So in impeccability, I have called it the vibratory language of color, line, shape, form, movement, texture, and tone being like a musical tone. So as we are meeting these consciousnesses that we haven't met for a very long time, they're moving at a vastly different rate, and they don't speak with the flapping of their moving mouth parts like physical humans do. How do we find a common way of communicating? And so on Earth's surface, there are different linguistic systems, but math has been found to be a universal or common language between like a person who speaks English and a person who speaks Chinese. The Chinese alphabet and the English alphabet are not compatible. However, both people, mathematicians from both countries, would be able to find a common language in what is known as the Arabic numeral system. The numbers, the integers, 1, 2, 3, and the formula that science uses to express its truth is in math. So that's the common language right now amongst people who explore ideas and preserve knowledge on Earth. And in interacting with otherworldly beings and otherworldly consciousnesses that are coming from a different direction, and moving at a different rate, we need to find this common ground to be able to even interact and meet. So when I speak about on this show, these are the concepts that are meant to prepare human consciousness for the coming together of the two worlds. And it is not just Earth surface humans that are having to prepare. The preparation spreads throughout the galaxy and throughout the cosmos. This is a radical change from everything that has been going on. So up until this point, humans have been physical beings that use plants as an intermediary. Chloroplasts, or chlorophyll, that is inside of a photosynthetic plant, changes light from a non-physical substance into a physical substance. And that magical occurrence is what allows humans to live in the physical realm on planet Earth. It is necessary to have plants or chloroplasts as an intermediary because humans, about 10 or 20,000 years ago, lost their capacity to directly ingest sunlight. Now, this happened as part of what I jokingly refer to as the genetic squashing, but which was not a very joking circumstance at all. It was an invasion of consciousness. And consciousness is contained within the shape of your genes. So it's like saying the information that is in an alphabet is contained in the shape of the letters. And if we change the shape of those letters, we are now containing different information. This is what happened to humanity. Your body was originally designed to be a container for consciousness that can maintain its connection to, we would say, the source of consciousness or higher dimensional intelligence or the divine. What humans worship as God is a part of us that we have been artificially separated from. Due to the genetic squashing, we were designed to be constantly in contact with the source, with, we could say, our divine heritage, while we are here embodied in the flesh. And first of all, how different would our consciousness experience be? Because we are not merely, at that point, recorders, cut off from the source, having experiences, recording our experiences into a kind of energetic backlog and then turning in that backlog at the end of our life. We would be broadcasters that broadcast our experiences in real time back to the sun and back to the stellar network. So the sun is our nearest star. It's like saying, in the analogy, our nearest cell phone broadcasting tower. However, the sun is a portal or a conduit that connects to the stellar network. And the stellar network is a network of consciousness. And it's consciousness on such a vast scale that it is difficult for most humans enclosed in flesh to even be able to stretch their minds to conceive of this. And we're talking, each star is like a neuron. So the vastness of this brain is like almost too much to be able to comprehend. But our galaxy is the brain. And each star is an incredibly intelligent and creative individual. And the star is emanating this network of photons. Photons are light, they're information, they're consciousness, and they are timelines. their possibilities and probabilities. So now let's rewind the conversation just a few minutes and go back to chloroplasts, these miraculous little machines that take possibilities, pure energy from the stars, and turn it into actual physical substance. This is magical. And I'll also say that animals perform an equally magical task in metabolizing physical substances into non-physical kinetic energy. So humans and animals are complementary, like two sides of the same coin. These are two aspects of the biology of Earth that make the metabolism of Earth sustainable. So if plants were all that existed, they would constantly be utilizing carbon and utilizing sunlight and making physical objects. And at a certain point, the atmosphere would no longer have carbon dioxide, which is what plants need in order to utilize the carbon to make physical objects. So humans and animals perform this valuable task. We exhale carbon dioxide. We literally put out carbon that can be turned into more food. And the way that we do it is through our metabolism, our caloric energy. When you move around and do stuff, you are literally helping the plant world. And this is not by accident. So I've spoken about this at length on other broadcasts, the idea of art and artifice, and that these ideas are not, something that is artificial is not inherently evil. These are things that were intentionally created as art forms. You could say we are living biological art forms. We did not arise accidentally. We were intentionally, consciously created and crafted the way an artist is crafted. So, but not by a personified God. Don't be too literal in your interpretation here, and I know that there's a lot of biblical literalism that goes on Earth's surface. The way that humans and life and plants were crafted on Earth is by taking the harmonic structure of consciousness. And if you check out my artwork, P.S., good moment for me to say this. This is what I draw and paint all the time. The repeating patterns, the symmetry, and what you see in my drawings and paintings, that is a depiction of the harmonic structure of consciousness. It is the structure of timelines, the structure of energy as it flows in an abstract form. It's the structure of how energy flows around the various torus or donut shapes of your non-physical energy body. It is the energy pattern through which consciousness and time and events flow. So this pattern, I've spoken about it before, when you conform to this pattern, which, by the way, is like the musical score of the cosmos. That's a beautiful set of musical notes. We consider it music as opposed to noise because it conforms to a harmonic pattern. There is a great composer that has written beautiful music for the cosmos. This is music of consciousness. It is how the trajectory of your consciousness should be traveling. The thoughts that you're thinking, the timelines that you're occupying, what your body is doing, and the way that you are bringing together the past and the future into the present moment now. That is supposed to be according to this beautiful harmonic pattern. And the harmonic pattern, it is depicted or expressed in that language of color, line, shape, form, movement, texture, and tone. So basically, when you think the right thoughts and your non-physical energy body achieves the right shape, you get to be quote-unquote alive. You don't get to be alive if your cells do not conform to this harmonic pattern of energy. So you can also check this out, the very beginning pattern of cell division in mitosis when the egg is first fertilized in mammals. The cell division begins to create this perfect, somewhat spherical mass of cells that has at its core the, we could call it polygon shape known as the flower of life or the seed of life. And I'll also do a brief rant right now. The flower of life is often depicted as a flat line drawing. It's not. This is like being a flat earther. Jump into the next dimension, people. Stop believing in a flat earth. You need to understand that the flower of life is like a shadow or a projection of a third dimensional object, and I have images of this third dimensional object. I will share one for this week's broadcast in the Twitter feed for Birth of a New Dimension, and also on the Facebook page, so that you can understand what I'm speaking about. Flower of life is not a flat object. It is a three-dimensional object. So really understanding that means you understand the process of cell division that occurred at the very beginning of the explosion into the physical matter world of your consciousness. So understanding patterns like that, this is essential to understand how you get to be alive. That when your zygote was fertilized, it expanded outward into this perfect pattern. And because you conformed to that pattern, your consciousness was able to inhabit this body. Believe me, there are many instances where the inception of a pregnancy does not result in a perfect expression of this pattern of cell division, and those are fetuses that cannot contain consciousness. So, the way that life was created was to take the potential for life, like matter that could contain life, and arrange it according to this nested harmonic pattern. And the way that that happened was through vibration. So this was not done through petri dishes. Please do not imagine giant lab-coated technician, taking different materials and mixing them together in petri dishes. It was not like that. It was more of a art and music and synesthesia project, because it involved consciousness and it involved love. So you must now understand that the act of sexual procreation is a fractal, tiny example of the larger experience of creating life. The larger experience of creating life was not a sterile experience of uncaring beings in a laboratory. It was a collaborative effort by many loving beings, performed with consent, of course, and utilizing energy from the non-physical realm and the physical realm. So it's basically like saying, if you take matter that has the potential to contain life, and you place it in a field that is vibrating in a way that conforms to the musical score of the cosmos, then that matter is able to contain life. And this is how life was created. And life was created in balance, because it's just like if I were a composer and I say, okay, I'm going to play these two notes. Now I got to find something that fits with those notes, because otherwise it's not going to sound very pretty. So if I've already created plants, I have to figure out what is complementary to plants. What is going to breathe in what plants exhale? What is going to balance the situation? The answer is animals. So these were not created independently. These are interdependent systems that were created intentionally. So I'm not speaking about a Jehovah or a man in the sky with a long white beard or a lab-coated technician or anything like that. I'm getting you to understand cosmic or divine lovemaking, that this is how life and art came into being on this planet and on other planets too, so that you do not misinterpret the art or the artifice as something inherently evil. It is not at all. This is the whole point. What has been created has been distorted. Like if you took a race car that's supposed to be connected to a little controller and is supposed to drive around in a little track in perfect circles, and you disconnected it from its little controller and started running all over, you'd be like, this is terrible, this is evil. But it's not. It's just that it's been disconnected from its controller. So matter and organic life and consciousness that is contained within organic life in the human realm has been artificially disconnected from its little controller. And the controller is not an evil person either. I know in this day and place, many people live under authoritarian regimes, and humanity has been mind raped repeatedly. So I applaud your skepticism, and I applaud your desire for self-sovereignty and individuality, and not to have someone else impose their thoughts and ideas upon you. And that's totally the antithesis. If you're new to my broadcasts, the Flying Rainbow Lasagna does not impose ideas upon anyone. It's a field, an energetic field, just like this chord that I just played is making a field of vibrations through the atmosphere. I'm going to play another song, another note. Hold on one. So here's a lovely chord on my instrument that is tuned to 432 hertz. And I think you can probably hear, even over this microphone, that wah, wah, wah. That is the harmonic overtones, or the amplification of certain aspects of the waveform pattern, because these notes are played together. So these notes are creating a energetic field in the atmosphere right now. And the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is also a vibration that is creating an energetic field in both the atmosphere right now and also the sea of consciousness that is made of time. And my whole point being, it is affecting you, just like when you are submerged within a place that is musical or filled with music. It's affecting you, but it's not taking away your free will. You get to choose what you do with this energy. And my intention with the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is that this field that you are within, it just gives you clarity of your own consciousness. It gives you your own connection to source. It gives you the capacity to think clearly and think for yourself, which is something that might be a completely new and unique experience if you are a human that has constantly been impeded in clear thought by, the hacked operating system that I call the human mind, the language system, and also social and cultural programming, and also a lot of mind pollution. What we've got going on right now, it is more difficult than it ever was to raise your individual consciousness because of the level of toxic pollution in the environment that is affecting your body's capacity to be an antenna. So we are submerged within a sea of vibration. I just created these beautiful harmonious vibrations. Hey, if we were only submerged within those vibrations, we would all be feeling perfect health. We would be perfectly at ease. We would not feel any dis-ease. Our consciousness would be happy. We would be on the right timelines. But we are also submerged within a sea of electromagnetic fields that are Wi-Fi signals and smart meter signals, all unshielded or uninsulated wires are creating a magnetic field. Light bulbs are creating a magnetic field. Your computers are creating a magnetic field. We are submerged within a field that, instead of sounding like beautiful, harmonious music, sounds like this. And that is affecting your consciousness too. And now I'll go into more information mode, where I say that it's not by accident that you are being surrounded by this non-harmonious field. It is literally intentionally created to diminish human consciousness. And that is because right now, this is birth of a new dimension. It is, the birth process is dictated by the time that has come before it. It's not like we suddenly decided, hey, let's just give birth today. To use the analogy of mammalian birth, like the baby has to gestate a certain number of months and then its birth is inevitable. So humanity has been gestating this consciousness revolution for a very long time. And the birth now is inevitable because literally we have outgrown our previous environment. So babies are born from the womb because they outgrow it. They need more food, they need more room to grow. They cannot stay in the womb any longer. So we as consciousness have outgrown the limitations of what we have previously been experiencing. An objective materialistic viewpoint, just the world is only my five senses and what I can perceive in my five senses, and also the sense of not being in control of one's consciousness trajectory or the format of one's genes. This is the program of genetic fatalism, what was first programmed into humanity when DNA was discovered. People understood that DNA dictates the shape of your eyes and the shape of your foot and whether or not you get cancer. And they said, it doesn't matter what I do in my life. If it's in my genes, it's going to happen. But now there's a much more sophisticated understanding called epigenetics, or the code that rules the code. And this is the understanding that simply because something is written in your genes does not mean that it will be manifested in your life experience. So now we're getting to the flying rainbow lasagna. And again, I really wish that I didn't have the limitation of only using my voice, because I really sometimes need to draw this as a graphic depiction so that you can really understand the shape. But basically, the shape of the quote-unquote letters of the alphabet of your genes was radically changed, and it was diminished in its capacity to receive certain information and broadcast other information. This is what I'm talking about when I say you were artificially separated from source. You were supposed to be connected to source as a real-time broadcaster, live, of what's happening in your life. And that also means that the stellar network and the sun can act through you. That if something needs to be changed on the ground, you are a conduit through which that can be changed. I don't know if you understand, but having a physical body is a wonderful privilege. And when you're connected to the stellar network, it means that all of that energy and consciousness and information can come through the body. Now, I'd also like to say this. Humans have been taught for a very long time that your bodies are ugly, gross, and disgusting, you're worthless, and your egos are also sinful, horrible, worthless, and disgusting, and that you have to kill your ego and get rid of your ego in order to be a truly spiritual or high-up person. And all of that is false programming, and it's all that hacked operating system stuff. It all plays into the deep sense of lack of self-worth. When humans' genetic code was squashed, it was an emotional blow. It really affected people's sense of self, and they felt very bad about themselves. And it was easy to believe in the story of, why did this happen to me? Why did I deserve this? It's victimhood. It is like any time that a person has something negative happen to them and they go into victimhood and they say, I must have done something to deserve this. I must have drawn this to myself in some way. So when the human genetic code was invaded by consciousness invaders, it diminished the connection to source, and humans really blamed themselves for this. And that sense of not being good enough has been programmed in on a deep level. Humans and the temporal ego, because this is not all humans. When you reach higher levels of energetic awareness, you recognize that you don't have to feel bad about yourself, and that's totally antithetical to your life trajectory. Feeling bad about yourself literally is like throwing money out the window. It's like saying, I feel so bad, I can never change. And when you choose to say, I've made mistakes in the past, I don't feel shameful or embarrassed or choose to feel bad about them. Instead, I choose to learn from the experience and change my behavior. That is called emotional maturity. So humanity as a culture is reaching emotional maturity. And I have to say, this is all about saying it was not your fault that you were invaded or that your boundaries were violated. This is all about love and healing. I'm talking about what happened with the fall of consciousness. So in the Bible, it's known as the fall, like the fall from grace. It's also known as the fall of Atlantis, Atlantis being defined as the somewhat mythological ancient realm, but which was a actual place that is where Earth's surface humans occupied a place called Atlantis, and we lived in different styled bodies. So I've spoken at length. Now we have to eat physical food. We have to use plants as our intermediaries. We didn't used to. We used to be able to be in the flesh, in a corporeal form, and achieve all of our nutrition needs for our physical body by being directly plugged in to the sun and to the stellar network. And this is like running a very clean machine. Right now, your physical body is running like a combustion engine, like a steam engine. You eat food and burn it up literally and emit all sorts of waste and byproducts and heat. And that is not a very efficient engine. And a very efficient engine is where you ingest pure light and it goes directly to all of your cells and processes your consciousness and all of your cellular metabolism with no byproducts. So that also means that your digestive system, all of your inner organs were repurposed from their original purpose. Your alimentary tract, the tube that connects your mouth to your anus, was not meant to be a home for 3 to 5 pounds of gut bacteria. It's really interesting. You have had to form a partnership with what is known as the microbiome, the group consciousness of trillions of one-celled animals that live in your guts. And humans are now becoming much more aware of this due to disease and imbalances in their guts. But those little tiny microorganisms, they can affect your appetite, they can affect your mood, they can affect your food craving, they can affect whether you feel happy or depressed or healthy or sick. Literally, in order for humans to turn physical substances into caloric energy and feed their bodies, you've had to form this partnership with the microbiome. Eating pure sunlight is what we are returning to. We are reascending. We are raising our energy levels to the point where our bodies can act differently. So your body might not necessarily change format, like you might not grow 2 new arms or 2 new heads or, lengthen your toes to be 3 feet long, nothing like that. However, where you get your food will really change. And I've been speaking now for 33 minutes. All of this is about preparation for actually leaving the planet. I've said on previous broadcasts, beings that require a clank-clank metal spaceship to fly across the vast interstellar reaches of space have not developed or cultivated themselves to the point where they should be meeting new races or new cultures or seeding themselves across the galaxy. And this is the problem. This is what's been going on. Certain space races have been utilizing technology. So this is why I'm very careful to say art and artifice and technology are not inherently evil. It's all about the way you use them. If you use something that's artificially created, but it is in harmonious, let's say, proportion to what is already available and what's natural, then you're creating something beautiful. This is what DNA is. DNA is like a type of machine that has become so perfectly integrated into the biological realm that it's seamless. You couldn't even tell that that's what it is, but it is something that was first artificially created. And same thing with the chloroplasts that are within plants. So we use technology every day for our bodies to be alive. However, there's another level of technology that was created that does not run on life force energy the way chloroplasts and DNA does. So that technology is a distortion. And it was created as a compensatory mode, a way to compensate in mediocrity, to put it in such stark terms, by beings who didn't have the capacity to be connected to Source. They didn't have their own divine connection to Source, which would sustain any organic multicellular being. So they had to use technology to create artificial means to be sustained. And those are the consciousness invaders that harmed humans by forcing themselves into your genetic alphabet and changing the shape of what your genes are like. Now let's talk about the flying rainbow lasagna. Flying rainbow lasagna is a tool that you can use to rearrange your genes. If you don't like the shape of the letters of the alphabet of your genes, you can rearrange them using the flying rainbow lasagna. And we do that by adding an additional degree of freedom. P.S. I have a whole class all about this. It is called Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans because I promote the idea that we are all full spectrum humans. We have the potential to claim our energy field from the spectrum red, the physical, orange, the emotional in mammalian terms, and yellow, the hacked operating system known as the human mind, all the way through green, which is unconditional love, through the turquoise color, this is truth or communication, into indigo, which is insight, wisdom, pure understanding unclothed with words, and all the way through your crown chakra, which is violet, and that is your connection to the source. You get to be connected as a physical being through all of your many multicolored layers, all the way back to the source. This is not something only for special people, not only for one messiah, or for a yogi or a master. You are each masters. This is what we were all created for. Let's talk about what are the ascended masters. The ascended masters are like marathon runners that have completed the marathon. They made it to the finish line. And people that are here on Earth's surface, still in the corporeal realm, still going through the process of refinement, these are runners on the track, running around the track, cultivating their bodies, cultivating their minds, cultivating their consciousnesses, until they find that wormhole of possibility on the path of least likelihood, after exploring every single other iteration through various trial and error efforts in their life, finally finding the combination of thought, action, and presence that leads you to the next level. And this is like saying your consciousness conforms to the beautiful pattern of music that is being played in the cosmos. So right now, on Earth's surface, we are transforming. And this is affecting the world of Agartha. This is called sometimes Inner Earth, or it is mythologically referred to as Shangri-La. So Shangri-La or Shambhala, this is a place that is protected by an energetic bubble of consciousness. The people there still live very much like we lived in ancient Atlantis. These are beings that saw the writing on the wall and were able to create a bubble of consciousness that they could reside within in order to, let's say, preserve their culture and keep the traditions and intelligence of what they are alive. So these are light eaters, beings who are connected to the source. Think about how much our lives would change if we did not have to eat physical food. If instead you went out every day and connected with your inner eye, your higher faculties, to the sun. So this is very profound because humans have domesticated animals. Humans have literally changed the genetic structure of certain breeds of animals in order to make them into food. Not only making their muscles bigger, like chickens and turkeys that have bigger breast meat, but also reducing their consciousnesses. You don't want a bunch of smart chickens. You want stupid chickens that eat their food and are easy to catch and easy to kill. And this is what we have done with our food. And same thing with plants. Humans have interfered with the natural processes of plants as they are breeding. So it's like saying Romeo and Juliet. Romeo really loves Juliet and wants to get together and they want to make a baby, but we're not going to let that happen because Romeo and Juliet are a plant and we want to make Romeo breed with a different person, Suzette, and make a different type of seed. So we as humans have been affecting the natural breeding patterns of plants and animals for our own convenience. And if we stopped doing so, plants and animals would return to their role as being part of that beautiful structured music. Their consciousness returns to that structure. If you don't understand what I'm saying that like domesticated corn came from it was selectively bred to have big, fat, juicy kernels of seeds that humans could eat. And it was originally a form of wild cereal rice that had little tiny seeds. We took it and we used it in a way that benefits us so that we would have something to eat. If we no longer have to eat food, then we no longer have to inhibit the natural breeding processes of the plants and animals around us. And then it becomes more like watching a beautiful painting unfold, watching this beautiful love story unfold without trying to control it or direct its behavior or exploit it in any way. Our economy would have to entirely shift. I'm using the model of Inner Earth or Shambhala or Agartha in order to prepare your mind for what would our world look like if we no longer had to eat physical food? And P.S., this is a transition. It doesn't happen overnight. The transition to eating pure sunlight and non-physical food happens gradually. And the reason why it happens is because at a certain point in each person's inner development, you're going to require more energy than you can get from possibly eating physical food. Even if you ate like pure butter, like 10 sticks of butter a day, you would not be able to get the amount of energy required to perform some of these feats with your higher faculties. So I'm talking about things like telekinesis and even telepathy. Telepathy is using consciousness to speak over vast distances of either time or space or both, all right? Telekinesis would be moving a physical object with your mind. Both of these things require a lot of energy, and you have to eat a lot of food in order to do them. And at a certain point, you will have to eat so much rice and beans, it would be so much fiber that it would overwhelm the system of your intestines and make it not possible to happen, okay? In order for humanity to regain its psychic faculties, humanity has to change its source of fuel from physical matter into non-physical matter, and this is the beginning of the practice of sun gazing. So let's talk a little bit about safe sun gazing. I do not stare at the physical disk of the physical sun with my physical eyes, all right? I stare at the physical disk of the physical sun with my non-physical eyes, and I shield my eyes either with the brim of my hat or with my eyelashes, or sometimes I close my eyelids completely and just allow, small amounts of natural sunlight to go through the actual skin of my eyelids. But you don't look at the sun with your physical eyes. And also you have to work up to it, just like getting a tan. Right now, it's been winter time, we haven't had that much sun. It's not good to just go out and expose yourself to, let's say, 8 hours at the beach in full sun. That's would burn your skin. It would overwhelm your system. So the best way in the spring is to get an hour's worth of sun and then wait a few days, and then an hour's worth of sun again. You build up your tan, and then by the summertime you can be outside for 8 hours in the full sun and not have a detrimental effect on your skin. It is the same with sun gazing. You have to work up to being able to receive the full strength sun without having it be overwhelming to your system. So you do it in small increments, and you can also filter the sun through trees, because you are not only filtering the physical light, you're also filtering the consciousness. If you plugged directly in to the stellar network, it would literally blow your mind. It's like plugging in your home computer directly to the power station without any intervening transformers that step down the energy into a palatable format of whatever it is, however many volts needs to go into your home computer. So it is the same thing with your physical and non-physical consciousness. Your consciousness is vibrating or dancing at a particular, like a baseline level, a baseline note, And if we add energy to it, it starts to get faster and faster and faster and faster. You don't want to go directly from down here to up here, because that would definitely blow your mind. People have experienced things like this. This is like the spontaneous rising of the kundalini. This is the energy that flows up the spine. And sometimes people have had this either in the presence of a great master. Sometimes they can cause a spontaneous arising of a person's kundalini, or certain life experiences. Sometimes near-death experiences can do this. But the idea is it's very disruptive. It's like getting a sunburn, and then your skin has to rearrange itself and fix itself. So it is much kinder on your consciousness to ingest small amounts of sunlight at a time and transform bit by bit, little by little. We're transforming incrementally. Okay, and sun gazing, so that was just like the safety information. Sun gazing is not a lazy activity, like laying down in the sun and just being relaxed and just letting it flow onto your body, even though that feels really lovely. Sun gazing is a conscious and intentional activity. So I prefer to sit like cross-legged, the way that I would sit if I was in meditation, and with my spine erect. And I face the sun, and I do specific breathing exercises with my tongue touching the roof of my mouth. And as I inhale, I am drawing in the light into my inner eye. And as I exhale, I am sending back my experience of consciousness to the stellar network. And this is what we were intended to do all the time. We were not sent here like as abandoned orphans, like, get out of the house, you're kicked out, and I never want to hear from you again. No, of course not. No, the sun and the stellar network and higher consciousness is truly profoundly loving and loves us very dearly. And this is like, I have to tell you this because humans have been feeling very abandoned and rejected because humans have been artificially cut off from the source. So it's kind of like if you're sitting around fuming because your friend hasn't called you, and you're like, well, if you're not going to call me, then you're just a big poopy head and I don't like you anyway. But it's like that your friend actually loves you very, very dearly and is trying to call you, but the phone lines have been cut. This is what's been going on with your genes. Flying Rainbow Lasagna allows you to transform your genes into a new formation. You can reshape the letters, quote unquote, of your genetic alphabet into what they were. What I prefer to encourage everyone to do is to say, let's use this Flying Rainbow Lasagna to reshape you and achieve your true potential. Because we could say maybe humans were not in their ideal, perfect form before the fall of consciousness. Maybe there is some improvement to be made. There's the idea that there is a value to coming into this level of density. Brief pause and I'll tell you a story. This is ancient mythological story. It is, I believe, the Sumerian goddess. Her name was Inanna. So Inanna lived in heaven as a goddess. And the story goes that she heard her twin sister, who's the queen of the underworld, crying out in pain in the underworld. And rather than being callous and uncaring, she said, I'm going to go down there and check it out. And Inanna had to descend through 7 layers. And with each layer, she had to give up one of her magical implements. The first one, she gave up her crown. The next one, she gave up, her magical earrings. The next one, her magical necklace. The next one, her magical breastplate. The next one, her magical belt. And, on and on until she had given up all of her magical implements. And then she found herself in the underworld, and she pretty much was killed. And they laughed at her. They said, we drew you down here under false pretenses, and now we're just going to hang your lifeless, body on a meat hook, and you're just going to suffer. And so, telepathically, Inanna cried out, and what happened was the gods in the higher dimensions heard her plights, and they took some magical food of paradise, and they disguised it with some flies. The flies flew down there, and because they looked like flies are supposed to go onto corpses, they flew onto her corpse, and they fed her the magical food of paradise, and she regained her capacity to think, and she left the underworld, and she regained all of her magical implements as she ascended again. And when she gets back to heaven, she is now a wiser goddess, that she says, I'm never going to be fooled again. P.S. The queen was laughing. The queen of the underworld was laughing. She was like, we brought you down here under false pretenses. You were never supposed to come down here. And this is an ancient myth. It's an ancient story that parallels what human consciousness has experienced. Being drawn down into levels of density and confusion, really through miscommunication and misguidance, and then having negative experiences and having to reascend. And as human consciousness reascends, first of all, you're going to get back into contact with the people that live in Agartha or Shambhala, the people that have been preserving the last vestiges of true cultural heritage. You're also going to get in touch with light beings, those beings that have the privilege, of moving at a speed faster than the speed of light. And you're also going to connect with the stellar network directly. And as you connect with the stellar network, let's say each day you are practicing sun gazing, you're transforming your consciousness, you're beginning to understand that all food is a consciousness program. Like a chicken eats a bunch of worms, the worms ate sunlight, the chicken eats the worms, the chicken is full of sunlight, the chicken is actually a program. And that anytime you ate or tasted a chicken, you turned that analog experience into what we would call a digital or abstract format that is saved inside of you as a memory. And at a certain point, you will no longer have to eat a physical chicken. You can eat a memory of a chicken and have that be as nourishing as eating the physical food. As we continue in our development, what will eventually happen is you won't need to fool yourself with the sensation of, actual flesh in your mouth or actual substance in your mouth. You'll be able to just feel the light of consciousness coming into your higher faculties and going as fuel directly to your mitochondria, directly to the ATP, the adenine triphosphate, that makes your cells metabolize and makes your muscles go. And all of this is in preparation so that you can leave the planet. You are prepared to leave the planet when you can fly off of its surface and you do not require a spaceship, you do not require a space suit. You do not require plants as your intermediary on the planet in order to journey through this sea of stars and the sea of consciousness. So right now, you're on a planet that is journeying through the sea of stars and the sea of consciousness. You're not prepared to live without technology on Earth's surface or without technology off of Earth's surface. This is a crucial distinction to make. When we begin this birth of a new dimension, we are already there, we're already birthing. But as this becomes more evident, you have to understand, we wish to interact with beings who travel the stellar network and don't require technology as an intermediary. We would like to become travelers ourselves who do not require technological assistance. Anybody who has to hop in a ship in order to transport their physical body has not mastered some of these lessons that are lessons of unity consciousness. And when we embody the values of unity consciousness, then it basically means I don't want to hurt other people because I recognize that that is self-destructive. I'm hurting myself when I'm hurting others. So if I'm walking down the road, I don't want to step on a lot of insects because those insects are me. And if I'm going to go to another planet, I don't want to rape and horribly abuse a lot of other people because those people are me. This is the basic lesson that the consciousness invaders that came to our planet, Earth, between 10 and 20,000 years ago, this is what they need to learn. And we are here in this schoolhouse of learning, having this amazing, this is an epic drama, so that everybody can learn. This is what it feels like when someone steps on your toes. This is what it feels like to step on someone's toes. Let us create healthy and positive boundaries so that we can thrive, so that we can cultivate consciousness, and so that we can go around without constantly stepping on other organisms' toes. So this is all about having a positive interaction with beings that either come from other dimensions or beings that come from vastly distant star systems. And let's also talk a little bit about time, space, and consciousness. If you live billions of light years away, and if you're having to get into a physical vehicle in order to come and visit our planet, then it means that by the time you got here, it would be long past relevancy. Or if you had to send an actual physical impulse of light or a radar wave or something like that across interstellar space, it would take an enormous amount of time. When you're saying, "Hi, how you doing?" and by the time your broadcast gets to us, our culture is already extinct. So in order to talk with consciousnesses that are far away in like space, in distance in space, we have to learn how to manipulate and handle time. And humans are just getting to be able to even understand time. Like fish submerged in water, water constantly affects everything about you, but because you see it everywhere and it's in everything, you cannot properly perceive it and study it. Humans are really having a difficulty in understanding you're submerged within a sea of possibilities, a sea of timelines, and your mind or your consciousness is or are creating these timelines. You are creating the world around you, the same as if you were in a bakery and you had ovens in front of your eyes and everywhere you looked you were baking bread. This is what your consciousness does. every day, every minute of the day. So this is also part of that program, the program that says you're a sinner, you have to get rid of your ego, your body is ugly, gross, and disgusting. No, no, no. Your body is a miracle tool, and you're very lucky to have it. And when you learn how to use it properly, you can use it like an artist to create the events that you would like to create. I think probably out of just, serving ourselves, each person would like to create events that are happy and comfortable and put us at ease. Like, I ate good food and I was with good friends and I experienced, positive sensations in all of my body. Like, that is what we want to experience. And there's something very good about that. Like, if you're not masochistic or self-destructive, you should want to use your innate creative capacity to create a beautiful world. This is like saying, these two notes exist, and I want to be a musician that makes these other notes that sound pretty along with it. I want all of these notes to sound pretty together. When I created the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I was creating a new dance movement, a new melody, a new song that meshed harmoniously with what was already here. And briefly, when you have the singularity, you have your chakras. Each chakra has at its center the singularity. The singularity is the 0th dimension. And when we take that 0th dimension and we put it in a context, we can then move it up and down or move the context up and down relative to the singularity. This is what creates the Flying Rainbow Lasagna shape. It is a boundary dissolving shape. So I've said before, we're dissolving the boundary of your ego. We're dissolving the artificial understanding of time that says the present moment now is a boundary between the past and the future, and making it possible for past and future to be communicative. We're dissolving the boundary between physical, corporeal existence and non-physical, non-corporeal existence. This would be like the realm of the afterlife, or the spirit world, or where you come from before you're born and where you go, when you're going on your trajectory. And forms of life that have never been corporeal. Yes, this is like telling people that Santa Claus exists. Yes, there are forms of life that have never been in a body, and yet they exist. This is like consciousness, just pure abstract consciousness. There's consciousness that's just abstraction. There's abstraction in a body. These are the full spectrum of what is available for us to interact with. So, Birth of a New Dimension. This show is all about preparing human consciousness for the changes in perception and the changes in your day-to-day life that we will experience as we are all reascending. We're reascending as individuals and as a culture and as a planet. Earth will no longer be bifurcated into humans who are still in alignment with the source and act the way they're supposed to versus humans who aren't in alignment and can't hear and are tone-deaf musicians. Earth will have a very different experience. So it's already on the way. Baby's on the way. Thank you for giving birth to this new dimension.